Welcome in, hockey fans, to episode 10 of the Pro Hockey West Report. Believe it or not, guys, we are getting closer to the start of a hockey season, a professional hockey season, one that we hope will be very successful, exciting, and without COVID adventures as we've had the past 3 years, I guess. Tonight, because we're getting so close, we'll talk a little preview. We'll talk about what some of our teams are doing as far as their promotional schedule. We'll touch on their schedule again. We'll touch about some new signings, if there are any, with teams, and then we'll kind of get you geared up for the rookie face-off, which will be going on the 16th through the 19th in San Jose, California. So without further ado, let's get started. Stephen Marsh up in the upper right-hand corner, Nick Maxson in the upper left-hand corner. Scott Strandy with you here. I'm in Denver. Steven's in Las Vegas. Nick is in Apple Valley or Minneapolis or somewhere in Minnesota, right?
Somewhere in there. I'm further north than any of you. Let's put it that way. It's really another thing that I think people really will notice or care about is I'm closer to the North Pole than any one of you. And well, it's September now, right? We're past Labor Day, which means we're expecting a weather change at some point, which also means hockey's getting closer. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and boy, do we need a weather change because it is a heat wave galore here in the Southwest. Denver record temperatures, Salt Lake record temperatures, California record temperatures, and Vegas.
Denver,
we're hot too, but yeah, Denver record temperatures. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I made the tour, as you know, last week through the area that we're talking about, through Vegas, Phoenix, Coachella Valley, El Paso. Made it back up to Denver. Tomorrow I make or Thursday I make a trek to Oklahoma to see some of our ACHA schools over there. And then it's off to San Jose. So take a deep breath. Let's get started. Nick, who you got first?
So let's talk about some Coachella Valley news because this is kind of a neat thing. I think all of us are familiar with defenseman Matt Tennyson. He's a California native, signing with the Coachella Valley Firebirds. I think this is kind of a neat little thing here. Just a one-year deal here. He's played both in the NHL and the American Hockey League. Last year, 53 games for the Milwaukee Admirals, 8 with the Nashville Predators, 14 points. Not the most, you could say, offensive defenseman, but certainly a more of a shutdown defenseman. Good size, 6'2", just over 200 pounds. But this is the big thing, right? So he's a NCHC former school, right? Played at Western Michigan University. Actually was a bit more of a stalwart up there. 22 goals in his career up there as a Bronco. Also spent time with the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders in the USHL before beginning his professional career. But how about this? This is kind of cool. So his grandparents live in Palm Springs and his parents live in Rancho Mirage. So you talk about kind of a home time signing. Right. This is pretty neat, right? So Tennyson finding a new home to play this season, and ironically, closer to home. I don't think even him, when he first started his pro career, than he maybe would have imagined.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does that affect, and I know we can't tell right now because they haven't played a game yet or haven't even practiced there yet, but how will that affect attendance-wise and just the growth of it, do you think, Nick?
Well, when we go back to, I think, the two most recent expansion teams, and you have a guy like Derek Engelin in Vegas, a guy that was a local guy, I think teams really latch onto that. I think Matt Tennyson is going to be a really good sort of just local flair. I think he'll be heavily involved in the community. When it's a veteran presence too, again, with American Hockey League teams, you're kind of you're a development for some of your younger guys that want to make a crack at the NHL, but you need some of those veteran players, the guys that have been through the ranks. And Tennyson has, he's, as I mentioned, he's been up and down between the NHL and the AHL. So, he can give good advice. He can take kids under their wing, show them what it's like to be a professional, both on the ice as well as off the ice, and be just a good spokesman or good representative for Coachella Valley. I think this is a fantastic signing. Again, being a local native, I think he's an easy guy that I think the city and the whole area itself can really stick around and really kind of grasp onto. I think this is a great signing.
Yeah, well, as you know, Steve Potvin told me that too, how important it was to have those veterans. They provide the leadership in your locker room. They give you a chance to win every night. And I think we forget sometimes that the AHL guys are there to develop, but they're also there to win, right? Those coaches don't keep their jobs if they don't, A, develop, and B, win. Nobody wants to have a loser in town at any level. That's why you play the game, right, Herm Edwards? Steven, your thoughts on that? You've seen Derek Engelland come through the ranks, and a guy like Gage Quinney come up too in Vegas. So your thoughts on the importance of having a guy like Brian Tennyson, right?
Matt Tennyson.
Matt Tennyson. Where did I get Brian from? Anyway,
it's been a long day.
Yeah. Don't even go there with me.
Hey, I'm 2 hours ahead of both of you, so if anything, you should be talking to me.
right. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is important. Two different situations. You look at Gage Quinney, who was born and grew up here in Las Vegas. Derek Engelland was a transplant here. He really became really a local here because this is where he started his pro career here, when he played with the ECHL team here, and then eventually, but still maintained a home here. He met his wife here and everything, and so that was all important events for him in his life. But Gage Quinney grew up here and he's from here, and I think we see how people latch on to those kind of players. And Derek Engelland, what he certainly means to the community, especially after we had the tragic 1 October tragedy here, and how much he gave that speech on that first home game that the Golden Knights had in their history. And I think from then on, he's retired, but he still works for the Golden Knights. He does some television analysis on games. He's also involved he's got his foundation. He's also involved in the Golden Knights Foundation. So he's become a really important part of the community that way, in that regard. And Gage Quinney is someone too that's played here and is in the organization and is truly a Vegas-born guy, and that's exciting. So that's exciting that for him, growing up here and now being able to play for a pro team here at this kind of level, at the AHL level and at the NHL level, when he gets that opportunity, is pretty cool. So to have a guy like Matt there, a tennis that's able to be from the Palm Springs area, from that area, and then be able to have family, and then be able to play for Coachella Valley, I think it's pretty cool.
Nick, a lot of people have been talking about the opportunity to go to Palm Springs. Not only the coaches and the players, but fans have talked about it. It's a destination city, especially in the wintertime. Any word on how you think that will all play out once they finally get that brand new building open and get people in there? Are we going to expect to see as many quote unquote visitors and transplants as we will locals?
I think the same question was asked in Las Vegas and even Seattle is, what's it going to be like? Well, I think when you already have a destination city and now you give them another reason to go, I think it just attracts more folks there. And if anything, again, we talk about growing the game, right? And how you can tap into markets maybe that you don't think of hockey number one. I mean, look at Las Vegas. I mean, I know I keep referring to Vegas, but how good and how cemented they are. When I was there in April for the broadcast national convention, everyone that I talked to, they're so proud of the Vegas Golden Knights. They are so happy that they're in town. And the rest of the world is kind of looking at it as a hotbed now for hockey fans. I think Palm Springs, the Coachella Valley, is going to be a similar feat where you have people who enjoy going there, number one, whether it's a vacation to relax, and then all of a sudden, hey, we're hockey fans too. You go and see a game. I think you're going to really attract the locals. Again, there's no other pro sports team in this area, so just to kind of quickly go back to the venue, it's also going to offer some music venues too. So you're really going to have a centralized area for entertainment. And again, Coachella Valley and the Firebirds especially are going to be a big part of that. So I think it really is going to expand the game. I think you're going to win over fans pretty quick. And, to Steve Ottman's point, if this team is competitive, to say the least, it's going to help their case as well.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I was in Oceanside in Tempe, and there was fog on the glass. I stopped in El Paso. There was fog on the glass. There was fog on the ice. They actually skated laps between their scrimmages. They stopped like every 7 minutes. They cleared some of the fog out by having the guys skate around the ice. So I'm guessing that won't be an issue in Coachella Valley, just from the fact that this building will be brand new with dehumidifiers and all that stuff. But the ice told me everywhere that I've been that it really doesn't matter. The ice surface is the same, not only around the world, but it's the same for every player, right? Both teams will play in the same ice, so it really shouldn't matter. But it'll be fun to see how they keep ice in the desert Coachella Valley. Steven, who you got first?
Well, we're going to start with Edmonton, which of course is the NHL affiliate of the Bakersfield Condors. So this news doesn't kind of affects them. The Oilers, they've signed a defenseman, Ryan Murray, to a 1-year contract worth $750,000. Now Murray last season played for the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche, had 4 points, he had 4 penalty minutes, but he's also played 432 games overall in his pro career. So he's also played with New Jersey. Over the span of 9 seasons, Murray has tallied 15 goals, 113 assists, 114 penalty minutes. So a lot of good pickup there by Edmonton. As we're talking about, Edmonton is really trying to. A lot of people, I think, are obviously with good reason, because we know that top line there, but is good. But a lot of people are really giving the Oilers a good chance to really either win the division or certainly make a good run. Last year they got further than they had in a long time, and I think they finally kind of got over that threshold, because that was kind of plaguing them, even though they had all these top draft picks for 3 years, and they had the Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl, all that stuff, and of course McDavid, but they weren't able to really kind of get over that playoff hurdle, even get into the playoffs. But they were able to get into the playoffs, go all the way to the Western Conference Final before losing to Colorado. So, I think there's going to be a lot of.
Is his contract a one-way, NHL only, or is he eligible to play in the AHL in Bakersfield?
It just says a 1-year contract. So, okay. So I don't know if we'll see if that means that he could go between both clubs, or it doesn't say a one-way, doesn't say a two-way. So it could be just a standard NHL contract too. So we'll see.
And to Scott, your point too, and maybe to Steven, I think a lot of the hockey world is looking at Edmonton and the moves that they made, and it seems like they're making a Stanley Cup push this year. Going out and getting Jack Campbell, Ryan Murray. Again, you mentioned maybe some of his offensive numbers. There's not a ton there, but he's a depth signing that has NHL experience. Injuries happen or whatnot, at least you can maybe call him up and at least play some minutes. Steven, do you get the same impression I get, that Edmonton is sort of pushing their chips in the middle of the table? Don't you agree?
Yeah, they are. There's also going to be a bit of a battle in training camp, which is going to make it kind of intriguing. They also had Duncan Keith retired. He retired, so there's a big spot that's going to be able to be filled. And there's a lot of rookies, and that will try to get spots like Philip Broberg, Vincent Desharnais, Dmitry Samorkiv. So, they also got a decor like Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci, Tyson Berry, Evan Bouchard. So they've got a lot of these guys already that are good on the D side of things. And of course, there's going to be some good competition for some, which I think makes, when you go into a training camp and you think there's going to be an opportunity to get on an NHL roster, I think it makes it more intriguing, makes it more exciting. Some NHL teams already kind of know where they're going to go. There's always, I guess, maybe a couple of spots that always maybe are up for grabs, but especially in a salary cap era. But I think, going into this season with Edmonton, I think, losing Duncan Keith to retirement, I think it opens things up a little bit there for a spot. And like I said, some players they already have on the decor side. I think it could make them a really pretty good, dangerous team this year in the Pacific.
And Scott, one more question I want to pose to you with Edmonton is, when we looked at Colorado last season, you have, your big guns, your McKinnons, your Landeskog's, just to name a few, your Mikko Ratnins, and then you had those depth players like, Nichushkin, say Logan O'Connor. Is Edmonton trying to replicate that? You need that mix of, your top skill, but also you need your depth players more than ever nowadays in the Stanley Cup to really push forward. When you're looking up and down the roster, granted, we don't know maybe who starts, but are they starting to kind of get that same mix we saw in Colorado last season?
Well, if they aren't, they should, because when you have a formula that works, it's a copycat league, right? You try to do what the team that won the cup did, and the thing with the Avalanche last year, they led pretty much from start to finish. They were on top all the way, and I think a lot of people were worried the last couple of weeks of the season when they kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit, but but they knew how to put it back together. And I think that's the big thing is you can do that. You can plan all you want, but you hit it on the head, Nick. Injuries, and then the other thing is if you play injury free, can you turn it up and turn it down when you need to, because that's when it makes a difference. So it'll be interesting how it affects their Bakersfield club, because we've talked about this, guys, in the past, that usually the AHL affiliate mirrors the NHL affiliate, and if one is having success, usually the other one is, and if vice versa, if one is struggling with injuries, then the other one is probably hurt too, because players are moving up and down. So,
well, I'll tell you what, we talked about the coaches last week. Well, I'll reiterate the coaching for Bakersfield, or for Edmonton, of course, is Jay Woodcroft. This will be his first full season as the head guy. Of course, he came in last season as the interim guy, was bumped up from Bakersfield, so he already knows the organization well. He knows the system. Of course, the guy under him, Colin Chalk, was under Woodcroft at Bakersfield, and he's now promoted to the head coaching for Bakersfield. So there's not a lot of needing to learn new things if they're going to stick with what worked in Bakersfield, what Woodcroft was able to do in Bakersfield. And look at that too, because when he came in, Edmonton really started to turn around, and things really got better for Edmonton. I think that was a part of the reason they were able to have the great, and towards the end of the regular season and playoff run that they had, was a coaching change. I think sometimes we look at those and say, why do these changes get made? Sometimes it's because you can't get rid of a whole team, but you can change coaches. I mean, we saw what Vegas has done a couple of times, but this was an in-season change, and I think it really helped Bakersfield, and it could kind of get to where they were in the playoffs. And so I think it'll be exciting to see how he does now with his first full season under his belt too, and then to see how it works with Colin Chalk in Bakersfield, and how that organization goes for them.
Absolutely. Let's jump into Colorado. I want to start with the promotional schedule that they just announced. I know you guys are all shocked that Colorado, the Eagles, would have a promotional schedule of, I would say 30 dates. It all starts off, and you guys will all be in line for a couple of nights, I know for sure. Opening night, October 21st, it's
there's only 36 home games, so there's 30 promotional dates, and there's only 36 home games in the season.
I don't know, something like that. But the pint glass giveaway to start the season, they'll have that. If you want to come back on November 18th, I know Steven will be lined up early for this one. It's Cowbell night, so you can get this year's Cowbell as well. They have the ugly sweater. They have, of course, the teddy bear toss. It goes all the way until April 15th when they end it, as everybody does on Fan Appreciation Night. But when you talk about doing things the right way, again, I'm going to lead back to, and even Steve Botza told me that, when I visited him last week, was like, he goes, you know what, Colorado's the hardest place to play, because he goes, I don't get what they do at the start the third period, but it drives us crazy. So that
I don't get it.
Madness with Buffalo Wild Wings is something that they will continue. And it really does affect the players, especially on the opposite team, because they're just kind of mesmerized by the noise and everybody standing for the first minute of the period. And they don't really get why they're doing it, but the fans do, because they know the loudest section is going to get free Buffalo Wild Wings the next day. And they also know that if they happen to score during the first minute, everybody in the building gets free Buffalo Wild Wings. So it's a treat. But the promotional schedule is out. Like I said, it's loaded. I'm just going to quickly look here. 6, 9. Yeah, there's 12. That almost every night. I think there's like 36 promotional nights. So almost every home night's got one.
Wow.
That's what you do in the AHL to generate excitement, to keep the fans coming back. I mean, if these guys play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, you never know. Sunday afternoon, you need to be able to get the fans there. And I've talked about a number of times, and you guys know it as well. In Loveland, it's a separate fan base from the Colorado Avalanche. Yeah, they support the Avalanche, but they're not making the trek from Loveland. It's only 60 miles, but they're not making that trek on a weeknight. It's like going from Scottsdale to Glendale in Arizona type of thing. So they gravitate to their Eagles, and they support them.
No shade at all thrown at Arizona, right?
Sorry about that.
Oh man, it does highlight that, right? Is we talk about season preparation, Scott, with the players and the coaches, but there's a lot of preparation too with the promotional staff and and just the arena stuff. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know. In fact, in just a couple of weeks here up in St. Paul, the production company that takes care of all essentially the goal of videos and the introductory stuff for the players, they're recording that in about 2 weeks at the XL Energy Center. So well before the season starts, and like I said, it's just insane. I do wish that fans actually saw every moving part, from everything you see, from walking inside of arena to the person that's making the hot dog, to the ticket sales, to everything. There's so much work going on in the summertime, where hockey is, from the fans' perspective, on a pause. But you and I both know this, Scott, as well as Steven, the work never stops around the National and the American Hockey Leagues. It's always work, work, work.
Yeah, it can't stop, because if it does, you're going to fall behind, and if you fall behind, it's hard to catch up. I mean, you just don't get those days back.
100%. Let's move over to San Diego, shall we? Just to take a look at some of the thing that's going on. You talked about promotional schedules here, Scott. They've got some. They got 15. A couple of ones that stuck out to me. One, Saturday, November 5th. So their second one, it's a Mexican Heritage Night, which I think is kind of cool, especially for San Diego, a very heavy influence of that culture down there. So that's a pretty nice little touch there too. But how about this? Just a week later against Bakersfield, it's Military Appreciation Night. And how about this? A camo hat giveaway. So there's that. And then one that's near and dear to my heart, a Hockey Fights Cancer Night at the end of November, a First Responders Night. And how about this? Against Abbotsford, this goes into February, a Women in Sports Night. I think this is kind of cool.
Ooh,
so
that is cool.
That's very cool. So that's Wednesday, February 1st. When Coachella Valley comes back in, Pink in the Rink. No question what's going on there. Hey, Valentine's Day special, a Star Wars night, a Kids Club Day, a Hockey is for Everyone Day against the Iowa Wild in March, and then obviously Fan Appreciation Night. So a nice little mix. But Scott, I'll start with you on these. We talk about promotional schedules, and it's fun to do the teddy bear tosses. And, we know the Hockey Fights Cancer's been around for a while, but some of these new ones, such as a Mexican Heritage Night, and how about this Women in Sports Night, try to, we talk about growing the game. Promotional schedules and promotional nights, you can really do a lot to expand your fan base and to attract new folks to the game just by having a promotional night in their honor.
Yeah, without a doubt. We're seeing a lot more women in sports. We're seeing them on the bench. We're seeing them behind the scenes. We're seeing them in the broadcast booth, for crying out loud. We're seeing them more than just the rinkside reporters. We're seeing color analysts. We're seeing play-by-play. So, it definitely is something that should be recognized, and kudos to San Diego for doing that. You mentioned the military presence, and almost every team, I believe, has a military night, but it's different when it's the military base that you have just outside of San Diego at Camp Pendleton. Wow. It is it's completely different. And if you've ever been to or seen a Padres game on Sunday, when they have Military Appreciation Day every Sunday, I mean, that's crazy. So I'm sure the Gulls are going to do the same thing.
100%.
Steven, your thoughts on San Diego and their?
Well, I would have thought beach. Besides the what?
Besides the beach.
Oh yeah, well.
They do have a disco night and a beach towel giveaway for those speaking of the beach.
There you go.
But it's during
one of those nights.
Well, that is that one's against the Ontario rain, and it's January, so maybe not the best time to break out the beach towel. Unless you are in Southern California, maybe in a Florida beach, but it won't be happening up here in Minnesota. I'll tell you that much.
That would be the ski mask and snowmobile suit
and parkas.
That's right. The only towel that you're using is when you're coming out of the hot tub or the sauna. That's the only time you can actually use it.
And then do you use a towel or do you use a full goose down blanket?
I think at the end of it, when it's that cold, it all feels the same there, Scott.
You're probably right.
And it's tough. Right. And it's tough to use a towel unless you get it really hot to get the snow off your car. When I was in St. Louis for the ACHA tournament, it actually snowed during summer. I had to get some snow off the car, so I brought the towels down from the hotel and tried to get the snow off, and that was a little tricky. But then I had I went and got hot water, and that worked. So here's a Vegas kid trying to figure out how to get me out of
you're the
get me out
crack
a
of
little
the
bit of snow.
windshield, and you're paying for a new windshield for the rental car.
Holy cow! I was going to say, Scott, you committed the cardinal sin of hot water against a cold ice.
Ooh, stay away
Oh
from
boy, stay away from that. We got to keep Steven in,
We'll teach
below
him.
the 38th parallel, I think.
Yeah, so don't send me any
Use
cold
a scraper,
places.
Steven. Use a scraper.
I know a scraper. I don't know. I mean, I think they had. I think lots of times rental cars have scrapers. Anyway, I live in Las Vegas. It never snows here. What do I know?
If it did, then we know maybe some other places have frozen over, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, I've seen snow in Las Vegas. So have you, Stephen March. You know it.
It
just doesn't stay.
Yeah, and it doesn't stick, and it's not enough to where you need to really shovel yourself out of it, or get it off your windshields.
Okay, who do you got next?
Well, I want to make I thought that it would have been cool for the women in sports night to be when they play Coachella Valley, because they have a female coach.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah,
that would have been cool. But a lot of these organizations instead have women involved in different capacities now, and I think that's just a great to see. So, I guess my next team I'll focus on will be Henderson and the Golden Knights. I'll talk about their promotional schedule real quick, and then I'll talk about a signing that affects the big club. But of course, they're going to have, I think about 12 special nights or something. They're going to have, they do a Nevada Day game. They did that last year on the Nevada. We have Nevada Day here at the end of October. And so they'll do that on the Friday. That'll be an 11 a.m. game. So a little breakfast hockey. That'll be against the Colorado Eagles. That'll be, and then the 29th against Colorado will be Fright Night. And then they'll have a military appreciation night. Of course, the Lucky Launch will be back for its second year. This will be the first year at the Dollar Loan Center, so that ought to be kind of cool to see it in that kind of environment. Last year they did it at the Orleans still. They're going to do a Herald hockey tonk. So that I mean, some of these, and of course Henderson, they know how to do. Herald, of course, is the town crier that is familiar with Silver Knights games, and when they score a goal, he gets on his little bugle and does his thing, announcing who scores. They're going to have a recovery night. They're going to have a Las Vegas Thunder night, and that's going to be an ode to the OGs of pro hockey here in Las Vegas, with the Las Vegas Thunder, who played here in the '90s at the International Hockey League. So that's going to be kind of cool. We're going to celebrate Lucky's birthday on March 4th. Lucky's birthday bash presented by Toyota, so that'll be exciting. Then, of course, the Oregon Donor Night, and then Fan Appreciation Night. So those are some of the promotional stuff that Henderson's got going on. So that's kind of that's pretty cool, That's now one signing that is going to be affecting the big club, the Golden Knights, is a signing of a goaltender, and this was kind of, I guess, kind of came out of nowhere, because nobody, Kelly McCrimmon kind of said at the time when they were talking about when they had before the signing that they weren't really gonna. I think when the Leonard thing came down, that they weren't really going to be in a position to get it. It was going to be Thompson and Brossois being the guys, but I guess after that this thing with Aiden Hill came to be, and they were able to get that done fairly quickly, from what Kelly McCrimmon said to the media the other day or so. And so now they got Aiden Hill from the San Jose Sharks for a fourth-round pick in the 2024 NHL entry draft. Of course, Aiden Hill has also played with Arizona before. Of course, he was with San Jose most
Tucson
recently.
Roadrunners.
Tucson Roadrunners, yeah. So 74 contests with San Jose Sharks, Arizona Coyotes, a 2.74 goals against average, a .908 save percentage, 5 shutouts during his NHL career. He's earned a gold medal with Team Canada at the 2021 World Championships. So there you go. He was drafted, of course, by Arizona in 2015. So Aiden Hill is somebody and that's going to be good for the Golden Knights. They need another established goaltender. It's still, I think they would have been good with Thompson and Brossois, and that may still be the case. But now you got Aiden Hill in the picture. It's going to make quite a competition in training camp to see who's going to have the 2 spots. They also asked Kelly McCrimmon if they might go with 3 goaltenders, if they're in a position to do that, and they just don't know yet, and what Bruce Cassidy will want to do and how training camp will work out. But we've seen how injuries have come up with the Golden Knights recently, and so it'll be interested to see if and we don't know if Brossois. It sounds like Brossois is progressing well and that he'll be ready for the start of the season, but now you have Aiden Hill as kind of another guy that could help in the net minor. So obviously they thought they were going to be okay going forward with Brossois and Thompson, but then the Aiden Hill thing, that they were able to get that done quickly, and now they all of a sudden have him in the picture there behind the net for the Golden Knights.
Scott, I'm going to interject real quick because I think you and I could read between the lines and know that Kelly McCrimmon was playing PR manager when he was saying that. No question, when you only have two goaltenders. And I think more importantly, Scott and Steven, I want to ask you this question is, Logan Thompson, I got to see him in action last home game against San Jose. Granted, you talk about a rivalry. It's quickly becoming one of the more fun rivalries in hockey to watch. San Jose and Las Vegas certainly is a heated rivalry.
Yes.
He looked pretty good. But I think, again, I take it less of an injury. Yes, it's important to have a third goaltender, create some competition, but I more so think, is this a move to also protect Logan Thompson a bit? Because if you have Laurent Brossoit, if you have Adin Hill, you have two goaltenders that have NHL experience. You want Logan Thompson to develop, and you want to put him in a position where he's not carrying the mail this young in his career. Now, granted, if he's ready for it, if he shows it in camp, it's his net. That's one thing. But do you get the sense it's more to maybe protect their young goaltender more than just a depth move?
Yeah, I was gonna say it could be, but I don't know. I mean, Logan Thompson certainly had plenty of opportunities last season to try to carry the team, and he did more than that. I mean, he was outstanding in those last few games that he had to play. If the Golden Knights couldn't help him get more goals behind the net, but that was I mean, all the shootouts he had to do and everything. I mean, he's somebody that's proven himself. I think. I mean, he had the COVID season with the Silver Knights was outstanding the whole season. Ended up getting goaltender of the year in the American Hockey League. Last season was pretty strong again between the time he was in Henderson and then when he got up to Vegas, it didn't really come back after that point. This season, you go into camp. I think it's still Thompson's net to lose. I think they still are high on him, and I think if you're going to have an opportunity to get him in, if he hasn't done enough to garner a regular spot on the NHL roster, I just don't know what more you could do to show yourself, to improve to yourself to the goal. Plus, you have new goaltending guy in charge here in Vegas with Sean Burke. Of course, you still got Rosati's here helping out with that. So, all that could matter too. You got a new coach, got a new coach in town, new coaching staff. So all that could be a factor.
Did you just say Sean Burke?
He did.
Okay. Let me tell you that one of my first interviews in the AHL was with Adin Hill 5 years ago in Tucson. Sean Burke had a lot of influence in bringing him on board with the Coyotes at the time. And there's a connection there without a doubt.
Oh, there you go.
I will also tell you that the Coyotes really liked Adin Hill. They thought he might jump in and take over for Kemper and Antti Ranta and take over that spot, but he just never fulfilled his potential. And then he became a pretty big trade piece when they sent him to San Jose, and San Jose paid a lot for him, and they paid him pretty well as well. And he just never really won the job there. He just didn't seem comfortable. So maybe, and dare I say, if he doesn't win the job in Vegas, that he could be looking at a career backup role. He may just have lost. This might be his last chance to do it. Now, I'll also say, and Steven knows this, I've said this for the past 3 years, that this is time for Logan Thompson. He showed last year that he's a really good goaltender. Steven mentioned it. The Golden Knights did not help him out down the stretch where they were trying to make that playoff run. And he was left out to dry. He took it really hard, and I think he took it with a lot of experience, and I think that's why they kind of feel like they owe him the opportunity to win the net and be in the net. And I think that's what he needs. I don't think he wants to be looking over his shoulder. I don't think he wants to be competing for the starting time. Not that everybody competes, obviously, but he doesn't. He wants to feel like he's earned the opportunity, and I think they will reward him with that. But Adin Hill will definitely be the backup if they need him.
Well, and that's going to be a big thing because, as we know, the last couple of years, Vegas has not necessarily had a good reputation of handling the goaltending situation on a very positive aspect, according to the eyes of a lot of people outside the organization and certainly people that cover the teams and the fans that watch the team and stuff. Of course, we know about what happened with the Fleury situation there, and then late last season with the Leonard thing and the whole thing there with him and Tom, so and the Boer and whatever that may have been. So it's it's like I said, it's going to be good. I didn't know about the Sean Burke connection there with Adin Hill. That'll be another intriguing thing too as we go into training camp soon and to see how that goes. But yeah, I think it's Logan Thompson's time, and I think I will be excited to see what happens for him.
Okay, I think it's time for a break. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back. We've got 3 more teams to get to. We'll come back and do that in just a few minutes.
The NCHC, where the best in college hockey compete, and the numbers back it up. In the past 8 years, 6 teams in national title games that are run of 4 consecutive national championships, 2 Hobie Baker winners, and 46 All-Americans. More than 70 alumni in the NHL with multiple Stanley Cup champions. A leader and innovator in the sport, including a one-of-its-kind pod. One conference, creating champions and improving the game. This is the NCHC.
Really, JR? You think you can still do this?
I'm focused.
You're way too old to hit that target from there.
I've been listening to everything you said. It's been running through my head, locked and loaded.
All right, still got it. Still got it.
Who's old now?
More than 140 live games from the nation's best college hockey conference. Ready for you wherever you are, however you want to watch. Your favorite team is on NCHC.TV. On your phone, tablet, or stream to your TV. Subscribe now to watch the best in college hockey at NCHC.TV. If it's NCHC hockey, it's on NCHC.TV.
All right, welcome back in, hockey fans. Episode 10 of the Pro Hockey West Report. Scott Strandy with you, and yeah, Stephen can count. That's always a good thing. Scott Strandy with you in Denver. Stephen Marsh with us in Las Vegas, Nevada. Nick Maxon with us somewhere north of us in Minnesota. But guys, we had a chance to talk about a number of our teams. We've got 3 left to get to. I'll get to Tucson here in just a minute, but I did want to touch on that NCHC ad that you just saw. Their media day coming up for college hockey. Nick and I will be there to talk a little college hockey with them. But 10 years already in the NCHC, and they do have a special promotion out right now. We've got it on our website. If you want to sign up for NCHC.TV, it's 10% off to represent the 10 years that they've been around. So if they hang around 100 years, I understand it's going to be free that year.
WCHA has entered the chat.
Yeah.
You're looking forward to that. You're looking forward to that, right, Scott? Another 90 years.
Yeah, Michael wants to swat me for even suggesting that. But anyway,
and people should realize the NCHC, some great teams in that conference. Obviously, you guys know it better than I do. Right? Exactly. Exactly what let's get to. Yeah, some of the players we see that come out. I mean, we talk about Connor Ford a few shows back. He ended up his NCAA career at North Dakota, and of course, and now he's in Henderson. So a lot of these college guys now are going right into the pro game. So people get a chance to get that app and get the NCHC games and see the future of the AHL and the NHL.
So, real quick on that too, Scott. You know, the NCHC, in terms of not only the talent that they can recruit and the teams they put together. Again, there's a reason why they've won. Was it now 5 or 6 national championships in the last 8 years? I mean, it's nuts how successful this league is, but also how they reload and how the teams continue even after you lose, you know, per team, sometimes 4 or 5 guys to pro contracts, how you can still reload that talent and still be have 4 to 5 top teams in the top 15 in the country. It's just insane how good that conference is, how great the coaching staffs are, how great the schools are at to be able to continue that tradition they've established. And it's just it's unbelievable for college hockey. It doesn't get any better than the NCHC, hands down.
Let me tell you how crazy it is. I just got nominated to be, for the second year, the media voter for the University of Denver. And I got my ballot today for the preseason poll and the preseason all-conference players. Now, I looked at it, and I'm going like, okay, I can do this preseason poll for teams. I kind of know what I think anyway. Then I looked at the 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and the goaltender. And I'm going like, where do I start? I mean, if I wanted to, we could have put 5 Denver Pioneers in there, and they all would have, and there'd probably be 3 or 4 that couldn't get in there. But obviously, you can't do that. So you got to look at North Dakota; they're stacked. You got to look at Minnesota Duluth; they're stacked. St. Cloud State always got quality players. And this year, I think Colorado College is going to surprise a heck of a lot of teams. I like the way their schedule sets up for them. I think they can do some damage. So when I'm trying to fill this roster out, I'm going like, I only got 5 spots. Who am I going to put in here? So that tells you the strength of the conference and just how good it is. But okay, so we'll jump down to Tucson. We talked about it last week with Steve Potvin, so there's really not a whole lot more to talk about. One name that they signed as a free agent that got to me, and a kid I've watched for about 4 or 5 years, name's probably familiar to you, Nick. I don't know about Steven, but Odin Tufto.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ring a bell to you?
Yes, it does.
Great Minnesota hockey player that went to Quinnipiac and was a star at Quinnipiac, led them for 4 years. And I think he's an offensive talent that has just flown under the radar. Why he hasn't latched on and been somewhere else, I don't know. But for the Coyotes franchise to pick him up, the Tucson Roadrunners, I think that's pretty huge. They also got Tyler Parks, a goaltender who I think is another guy that's on the rise. And they're talking a lot about forward Reese Vitelli as another guy that they signed, Kate Oliver. So Steve Potvin's got some clay to mold, if you will. And what he'll do is he'll form that into a team, and they'll be a good team. And, the thing with Tucson is they're getting their ice in a little bit later than normal. Normal compared to other teams, right? They'll have it in here in a week or so. But that kind of sets them behind the 8 ball. And especially now, they used to have training camp in Glendale. That obviously isn't going to happen. They can't have it at Arizona State because that's not ready yet. So they're kind of into their Ice Den Scottsdale home to build things. So it's going to be interesting when they get to San Jose to see just what the legs are like for that team and where they're at, because I think they're going to be behind the 8 ball. I could be wrong on that, but boy, when you don't have a real home, and Steve Potter mentioned that too, is like they're on a 3-year plan where they feel like they have to weather the storm for 3 years, and then hopefully there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel, and they can go forward with that. But it's always a challenge. So Tucson again doing their best to put together a promotional schedule. Just a number of different events from opening weekend all the way to fan appreciation. Again, Dusty the Roadrunner, one of the best mascots in the AHL, and that's saying something because there's a bunch of good ones. But boy, they send Dusty everywhere. He goes to the schools. He goes everywhere in the community. I think every game day he's at a TV station with the weather people and doing the weather, which is really tough to do in Tucson. It's sunny year round. But anyway, so they have a lot of things going on in Tucson, and kudos to them for hanging in there, right? Because it would be really easy when your parent club is struggling for you to maybe let that. We've talked about it before. We just talked about it earlier. How do you keep? And I asked Steve Potvin this as well. I said, how do you keep the guys engaged? And he said basically that there aren't many spots for hockey players, right? So if you have an NHL team, no matter where it is, or an AHL team, no matter where it is, you have to look at that opportunity and say, this is an opportunity to be a professional hockey player. And we know how many players in college don't get that opportunity, solid players in college. So anyway, that kind of leads us through Tucson. Of course, Steve Potvin, the new coach, and they brought in a new assistant coach as well, and Zach Stortini, who Steve also told me fought his way to get there, literally. But anyway, so that's kind of the rundown of what's going on in Tucson. We'll move it on to Nick. You got, I believe, Ontario left.
Ontario, right? And they've Ontario/LA's got some interesting news here. So the theme has been kind of promo nights. So 15 seasons, the Ontario one. So 15 promotional nights. A couple of ones that stick out to me. On the 29th of October, Dia de los Muertos. So a little bit of a celebration there for, I guess you could say the Halloween, but more of the celebration that they have down in Mexico. They have a World Cup night in the middle of November. They have I'm surprised Vegas isn't this. How about a casino night? And this is on, albeit New Year's Eve.
Really?
Of all things. Yes, on
Well, that's
12/31 Saturday.
Well, that's because they're playing Henderson, I believe, that night. So
Well, it makes sense then. But Vegas, come on, you had one job, right? They also have a couple of other kind of fun ones. Wands and Wizards in January. They have a kids takeover in January as well. They have a next generation game, and they have a classic rock.
Okay, hold on a
night.
minute. Hold on a minute. Next generation. What are we talking here? I need some elaboration into this.
For next gen, let's figure that out here. So. Let's see. You put me on the spot here. How dare you? Okay, next game. There literally is no description on this, so I guess we're gonna have to wait and see on that one.
Okay.
You have a RainCon, a Star Wars night. St. Patrick's Day's a couple ones, but a couple of interesting ones there for the Ontario Reign. Again, 15 promotional for their 15th anniversary. They're in the great state of California, so I think that's kind of fun.
I want to correct myself. They're not playing Henderson that night, but I just looked it up. So, but if Henderson did that, they can't really, because it's Vegas and Henderson. Every night is like a casino night here in Las Vegas. So you could. They would just be like another night in Vegas. So I think fair. Ontario has at least the Inland Empire. They have a few casinos there, so they can tap in that.
Does that happen to be sponsored by a casino? Nick, do you know?
It does not say if it's sponsored by a particular casino. I know that teams in the past, I know the Minnesota Wildlife used a casino in terms of a fundraiser night. They've had some table games and those kind of things as a fundraising kind of a campaign. So,
sure.
But no official sponsor there. Speaking of Ontario, more important, the parent club, guys. We've talked about Coachella Valley, their arena. We talked about the Arizona State Arena. We haven't talked about the latest news with Crypto.com. We're talking a 9-figure investment that's going to renovate the entire arena. Yes, you heard that right. AEG, which I also believe does San Diego in terms of their portfolio, in terms of managing it.
Correct.
They're good. Yes. Holy
and they're
cow.
involved in Seattle's arena too, I believe.
I believe you are correct. Yes. How about this? Basically, an entire renovation inside and out, including expanding the plaza. They'll be redoing the ribbon boards. They're actually going to be adding 2 new screens above the third deck. So, Scott, I know that you spent some time in Minnesota. You remember the old Civic Center?
Oh, I certainly do.
Yes, you do. So the orange. Yeah, right. Oh, those were a nightmare for those wondering. Up here in St. Paul, before the Xcel Energy Center was built, they thought, I'm not sure. I want to know whose idea this was. Essentially, I think there was an idea before advertisements kind of own the world. Is they decided to make the boards clear so that way apparently it was a better view. I'm not sure if that was the idea behind it.
If you're laying on the ground, yeah.
Right. It didn't look great. It looked awful, and for the players, you couldn't see the puck. You couldn't see the puck, which was, I think, something they did not take into account. But above the third level, it was basically 40 to 50 feet of just different colored wall. Well, in the Crypto.com arena, same thing, but they're putting video boards up there above the third one. So I would imagine the advanced analytics squads are probably some area of opportunity there. Maybe some mics. I know what the NHL is tracking. You kind of wonder if maybe they'll start to integrate some of that data, whether it's time on ice or, maybe a shift length, shots on net. That'd be kind of fun to see, to kind of utilize that up there. But 2024, apparently some of the renovations already underway. So a 2-year renovation project for Crypto.com. And again, a 9-figure dollar amount for Crypto.com down there in downtown Los Angeles, including the plaza in front of it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So 9 figures, that'll buy you a couple cases of water in LA.
At the time it's done, that's correct, yes.
And you might be able to get a full tank of gas, too.
Well,
it depends on what you're driving.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
All right. So the Ontario Reign and the LA Kings, to me, guys, I think that might be one of the surprise organizations in the West all year long. I think the talent's there. I think the coaching's there. I think the time is right for them to make their move. I think they thought it was last year, but they found out midway through the season for both teams that it maybe wasn't. quite their time, but boy, they're a scary proposition, both AHL and NHL in my mind.
They really are, Scott. And sorry to cut you. I don't know. Steven was looking to chomp at the bit,
Oh.
but when they adding, Kevin Fiala, number one, a prize free agent acquisition, but also you have guys that are looking to make it a jump. I'm more specifically talking about Alex Turcotte. I think LA especially is really hoping he makes the jump because, I mean, we talked about how some of the teams, have this nice mix. We talked about this with Edmonton. I think LA is going to, like you mentioned, I'm not sure if between us three that we would be as surprised, but I think for a lot of the casual hockey fans, LA is going to be a pretty scary good contender in the Pacific. And dare I say, they're going to be up there in the ranks with Calgary and Edmonton fighting for the number one position in the Pacific Division. I really think they're going to be that good. I like their depth. You kind of wonder if Cal Peterson and net gets more of the looks over Jonathan Quick. You kind of wonder where Jonathan Quick's head. Maybe their big weakness is. I can't even say it's a weakness, but maybe their question mark on goaltending. But up front, you hope that Drew Doughty is also healthy for LA. If he is, this could be a scary roster. It's got some depth in every single facet of their game, and I really do think they're going to be turning heads, like you mentioned, Scott.
And it's going to be a turning of a new leaf because Dustin Brown has retired after spending all his time there in LA.
Correct. Do they have a statue yet ready or not yet?
From what I understand, being hammered out just to make sure.
It's coming, from what I understand.
It's coming, yes.
That's what some of that nine-figure money is being used for, I guess. So they have more space to put more statues, for all these King players and Laker player, whoever else they put out there. So
correct.
It's gonna be like Hollywood Walk of Fame, where you just go down the sidewalk and every other thing is a star now. Now there's so many of them that they're starting. From what I understand, they're starting to put them right next to each other there. So it's not like it's like you're gonna have three in a row and stuff. So that's gonna vision LA. It's just gonna be this like a wax museum kind of. There's just gonna be statue after statue after statue between the great Kings players, the Lakers players, boxers, that all these different the broadcast, all these different things that LA's been.
Here's a great thing for when we get Nick out there is we'll have him run through all of those statues doing high fives. We'll get it on video, and we'll just have him high five everybody. See how many he can get. It's kind of like a little contest. You just weave through them, Nick.
Can we just stick handle? Can I just do a stick handling drill? That works. I did a stick handle on live television last season. If anybody didn't see that, yes, it was kind of an intermission gaff. It was pretty fun.
Somewhere because I do have to see that.
Yes, it's online somewhere, I'm sure. But yeah, exciting things out there in California, and to the point with the statues. I kind of get the feeling that for a while the Lakers, they were in a league of their own. Right. When they sort of went down, the Kings kind of came up, right? You kind of wonder if crypto and you kind of get the sense here, they're just trying to make this about not one team. They're trying to make this a sports destination, really trying to integrate every team. I kind of like the idea actually, because LA, granted they were kind of spoiled there with Kobe Bryant. They were back in the day. They had some good runs again. The King two Stanley Cups, 2012, 2014. You believe it's been 10 years since their first Stanley Cup? That's unbelievable. It really is. It felt like it was yesterday. But I kind of like the idea of just making it a sports destination, not a place you go for the Lakers or the Kings, and kind of a changing of the guard. It's kind of like, no, you go here, and in all the history for everything it's been there. It's a great building, great vibe, and I kind of like what they're doing to kind of emphasize the sports greatness and not just one team or the other at one time.
Well, I think the money
crypto.com.
Well, and I think the money thing is
minus
a big
that
factor with the name change, of course. But I think it also gives them an opportunity to kind of get like a fresh. It's almost like it's not a new arena, but it is because it's a new name. Everybody. It's still weird for a lot of people to think of it as crypto.com, but the Staples name is starting to fade, and now everybody it's crypto.com. It's getting a chance to create its own memories, and even though it's the same building, but with all these renovations that Nick was talking about, they're going to do and everything. It's really going to look. It probably look a lot different than what it was when it first opened, for sure, and certainly during the Laker heydays and the Kings, and certainly those teams can do well again and make it a memory there. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting for them.
We got 5 minutes to wrap up with San Jose.
Let's get to San Jose. Speaking of new buildings, right? San Jose's got theirs. We've talked about that before. They're gonna have the TechCU Arena have their official grand opening, so it is open. And of course, we're gonna have coverage from there next week with the rookie tournament. But I'm going to review you some of their theme nights I think are kind of interesting. They're going to have on October 29th. Well, first of all, October 23rd is their first ever home game. That's going to be against Henderson. And then October 29th, Hoptoberfest, whatever that is. So I mean, I guess like Oktoberfest, but Hoptoberfest. They're gonna have several college nights, so they're gonna kind of market to the college. Several colleges around. Get Stanford's right around there, San Jose State's right around there, so that's kind of cool. Top Gun night. That's gonna. I can't wait for Top Gun night. I just saw Top Gun Maverick recently. It was a great movie. I think it'll be exciting to see what they do for Top Gun night. That's gonna be fun. Maybe Tom Cruise makes an appearance. Maverick makes an appearance himself. We'll see. Cowboy night. They're gonna do a Cowboy night, Pink in the Rink night. They're gonna do a Black History night. It's cool. They're gonna do an '80s night. So if you're a fan of the '80s, that would be your night to go there.
That's my heyday.
There you go. And then several Pucks and Paws nights. So I think 21 nights they have as some sort of promotion out of the 36 home games. So quite a bit there for them, of course, as they usher in a new era there for Barracuda hockey in the new building. One other signing real quick, the Sharks did. This is Evgeny Snepnikov, a 1-year contract for this upcoming season. He played with 4 seasons with Grand Rapids. Won a Calder Cup with Grand Rapids in 2017. He spent last season with Winnipeg and skated in 72 games and had 7 goals and 12 assists. So the Sharks pick him up. So that's going for him. So again, great things happening for San Jose. Excited to see the building ourselves in TechCU Arena and get there. And it's supposed to be the largest facility, ice facility, because it's an existing building. It's Sharks Ice with all the ice sheets they had, but now they've added some, of course, and now they've got the arena part. So I think it's like 8 sheets or something. It's supposed to be pretty big, so it's going to be exciting to see and to see the rookie face off there coming up here real soon.
Good stuff. Okay, let's kind of wrap it up on how close we are. We're 2 weeks away, guys, until we start having some real interviews with real players and real good things. So, we started this in July. We said we're going to give it a whirl, see how it goes. We're constantly trying to make it better. We're getting better. It's going to get better. We'll have some more video content that we'll be able to insert as we get rocking and rolling. You won't have to look at us for a full hour, but that hour disappears in a hurry because there's when you're talking about 8 teams, like I was telling Steven today, I said, it's just a few minutes of each of us, and all of a sudden it's all gone, right? So it's been fun to get this underway, but I think it's going to be more fun when we actually start interacting with coaches and players and people like that. And everything that I've gotten and feedback, guys, from the AHL people is they're thrilled to have us. They're looking forward to our coverage, and I think it's up to us now to just step it up and continue to promote and get some more followers and viewers and all of that good stuff. And it's a slow go, but it's a slow go for a couple of reasons, and we're getting there. It's close.
We are. And, the rookie showcase, quickly, because we have just a little bit of time left here, Scott. It's a good way to kick, things off. Again, it's a big evaluation for some of the young talent. It gives the coaching staff at the big clubs as well as the AHL clubs a little bit of an idea of maybe who gets a call up to the actual big club training camp. It gives an idea of where some other players have progressed year after year. And, and again, when you're put them in a competitive setting, when you really get to test, the IQ, the skill, the strength, just the different facets of the game that you try to improve on, year after year. It's really, really fun. Again, with the rookies. And I think in our division, especially, there's going to be, dare I say, quite a few of the really good young guns that we're going to be watching, some that will probably make the NHL jump. So it's going to be fun. And like you mentioned, getting a chance to interact with the players, the coaches, the staff, all those people that are involved with our great game. I can't wait to get it started. And what a good way to get it rolling to see a tournament like this down in San Jose at a brand new arena. Should be fun.
And it will be all AHL people involved for the most part. With the coaches will pretty much be the ones doing the coaching for those teams. There'll be a lot of scouts and stuff there if it was like it was last year. I think every team's planning on doing some sort of stream and broadcast. That'll be mostly the AHL broadcasters that will do that. So they'll also get the players will get a little bit of NHL treatment. From what I remember from last year talking with the Vegas folks, they got to fly on the team plane to get to Arizona and stuff. They got to be kind of treated with all that. So they get that kind of little perk too, which is always fun.
Well, I think the big thing, too, is it's hard to evaluate playing against each other on your own team, but now you get to evaluate against other opponents. So they maybe don't know your moves. They don't know your game plan. so to speak, and that's where you can evaluate. So another great show, guys. We'll be back next week and bring it to you. And you know what? We're getting there. We're close. We're very close. Have
Very
a good
close.
night.